Grab your headphones, turn it up loud. Randy and Robert bringing you the sound. Lewis and Clarkson, sports all around. From the local fields to the global playground. Bringing you the highlights week after week. From touchdowns to home runs to make you shriek. Covering the athletes, the legends, the stars. Randy and Robert, they'll take you far. The dishes, stats, breaking news with a twist. Every game, every play, nothing gets missed. Monday mornings, tune in for the sport. The R&R Sports Report that you can't ignore. They're ready for the action. We're here to report. Randy and Robert together, talking sports of every sort. From Lewiston, Idaho, to fields around the globe. We got the news, we got the views, we're in the know. Local legends and global stars, we cover it all. Whether it's touchdowns on the field or baskets on the ball. The highs, the lows, the drama that ensues, we'll break it down for you. Share our fearless views. The R&R Sports Report, we're here to entertain. Bringing you the inside scoop through sunshine or rain. From the local to the global, our voices will be heard. Tune in now, let's dive into the world of sports. Word. They'll cover it all. Talking local heroes at the global ball.
Lewiston and Clarkston, we're here to ignite, talking sports all day and through the night. Randy and Robert, the dynamic duo, get ready for the show. It's about to go. From the small towns to the worldwide stage, we'll bring you all the sports news in this age. Local heroes and global legends collide. We'll keep you in the loop, we won't let you slide. The R&R Sports Report, we're here to play. Talking touchdowns, slam dunks, and goals all day. Randy and Robert, every Tuesday, for all the sports action that comes your way.
On Tuesday night, 6 o'clock, you know where to go, to Randy and Robert's show. They'll give you the lowdown. Lewiston and Clarkson, they rap it like pros. Talking local sports, they never miss a blow. From football to baseball, they got all the stats. No matter the sport, they're always on track. Aussie rules, they break it down like no one else can do. The R&R Sports Report, always bringing the news. They're Randy and Robert but always and always a road. Talking about the games, very kids also tune in every Tuesday, since you won't be bored. We are in our sports report, and the podcast you adore.
Good evening, Warriors, and welcome into another edition of the R&R Sports Report. I'm your host, Randy Isbell. With me, as always, Mr. Robert Hagan. Robert, I told you I had a surprise for you.
Yeah, I told you I'm not a big on surprises, but that was pretty awesome. I pretty cool what you found out there.
Yeah, AI is getting ridiculous. That's all I know. It is a trio today. I love how I came up with all this stuff and had a lot of fun. Yes, it is the second best Robert who's here on the show today. But we do have one Erik Watkins. And Erik, don't worry. I'll come up with a version where you're involved as well. Welcome to the R&R Sports Report, sir.
Glad to be here. I was summoned from the ether many moons ago to come in and pinch hit, and then it's like, oh, it's going to be a three-man show. Well, I'm like, well, all right, then that means I just get to gloat in front of more people. This
Yeah,
works
absolutely. Erik was here, supposed to be in for me. I was supposed to be calling the Lewiston Post Falls games. I did not put two and two together that a few weeks ago when Post Falls and Lewiston had to change their schedule and come down to Lewiston due to the weather, that they had just flipped those schedules. So Lewiston's up in Post Falls today. So I was not needed for that job. So here I am. We'll have a three-person conversation, as especially once we get into the second hour and we really dive into the NFL draft. Erik is here to bring his thoughts and his expertise. Also, we had to bring in somebody that is following any of the NHL or NBA action, because I'm not, and we know Robert's not. It's just so I appreciate you, Erik, for hopping in and sticking around, even though schedules changed, and we're gonna have a lot of fun with the three of us.
You got me on a good night, and this gets to be the debut with a new setup going forward, so it worked out for everybody.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm excited because when you and I talked, it was going to be you and I. Randy was going to be gone, so I let you pick the sports-related draft. So be watching. We'll start that at the top of the second hour. So excited. Randy is going to vote among, I'm hoping, others, because I have a funny you already know what the picks are.
That's true. You're not going to surprise me with any of them. I do have access to the show notes, but that's totally fine. But I decided not to throw that away. It was a really good topic that Erik brought up. So I will just be one of the judges there. Real quick, as we do each and every week since the start of January, I will promote to you our Bad Brackets episode. It's a good one this week because Erik and Robert were both on it, along with Sean Garmer. And we went back that nostalgia route. We had that back in January when Robert Taylor made his one and only appearance on the show to be part of the 90s sitcoms. So we went back to the 90s. We went back to our roots. We did the 90s comedy movies. And I'll tell you guys right now that Jesse Knight disagreed with your final four. He did not disagree with my bracket, though. So my bracket was great. You guys just messed it up.
How did we? Nope. I promise. Not bitter.
It's not true.
Not bitter. At least for this one. Other brackets, yes, I am still saltier than the rim of a delicious margarita, but that's for another day.
No, Robert, we will get you back on there on one of these upcoming episodes. It's just the schedule filled up with certain people, and we'll get Taylor back for sure. But there was some saltiness on that episode. Definitely go check it out. All right, let's start off the show with some local news. We'll get into the national stuff and get Erik more involved as the show progresses. But as the 5 different AI songs let you know, we do a lot of local sports as well. And let's start with the Lewis Clark State baseball team, who wrapped up their regular season over the weekend with a 4-game sweep against Bushnell. Saturday, a couple of really tight contested games. They win one in extra innings. They win another one by just 1 run. On Sunday, far more dominating performance for the Warriors. They won in 7 innings, 13-2, and then flirted with another 10-1 rule in that last game, ended up with an 11-4 victory in that contest. So they are now your number 1 seed in the Cascade Conference. So that means, and I said it multiple times throughout my game that I broadcast on Sunday, that LC will not play another game this season outside the confines of Harris Field. It just depends on how many games that they get to do, but they're going to host the Cascade Conference Tournament this weekend. They're one of the 10 hosts for the NAIA opening rounds, and they host the NAIA World Series if they get that far. So LC gets to play at home, and that's really big, Robert, because they're 20-0 at EdgeShift Stadium this year.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of calling all 4 games this weekend, PA-wise, and let me tell you, it was all about the Carter Booth show, Brandon Cabrera, and about the long ball. There was some big shots hit out of there. Carter, I believe, if I remember right, 4 home runs, 3 on one day, 1 on the other day. Brandon Cabrera just was able to visualize the ball. And hats off to Bushnell. A couple of guys there in the middle of the lineup. They were getting things done with Wilson and I'm drawing a blank. Albert with his back keeping Bushnell in those couple of close games on Saturday. But it was a dominant performance between these guys, and there's just something about having that home field advantage. And the crowds are starting to grow a little bit more from what it was in February. It's still a little chilly, but we had decent crowds all day, and that's even fighting the rain at the 1 o'clock time start on Saturday. But there's something about what these boys like to do in front of the local crowd.
Yeah, it's always interesting to see as LC continues to churn through different players, as is the case in any college athletic event. The team is always going to be different from year to year. You're going to bring in some of those NCAA guys. You're going to bring up some high school people, and they all just seem to understand their assignment as far as playing extremely well at Harris Field, and it really showed this weekend. It's very interesting to note that the 2 teams that played at Harris Field this weekend will play each other on Saturday in the opening round of the Cascade Conference Tournament. 4 teams qualified. It will start with a fantastic series. So if you're or a fantastic game, excuse me, it'd be great if they played a series, but a fantastic game. So if you are in the LC Valley area, definitely come down early and check out Oregon Tech and British Columbia. Those 2 will kick off the conference tournament at 1 p.m. And then LC will host Bushnell once again at 4 p.m. Then on Sunday, the winners will face, the losers will face. The combination of those will play one more time. Double elimination rules between those 4 squads. Winning team gets the automatic bid to the opening round. If LC were to win the Cascade Conference Tournament, then the runner-up would get the automatic bid because LC already has one. I will just echo what Brian Danner said on the broadcast on Sunday. LC automatically gets their spot in. They're the top 5 team in the country. They're in. I believe, and I know Danner believes as well, British Columbia should be a lock no matter what happens this weekend. Their pitching staff is just too good. Oregon Tech is a fringe team. Danner believes they should be in. I'm on the fence. It really kind of depends on what falls through in other conference tournaments, but I think they need to make a pretty good run. Bushnell is the only team that absolutely has to win this conference tournament, or at least get the automatic bid to get in the opening round. But a good chance that 3 teams from the Cascade Conference will get into the opening rounds, and we hope to see that. Erik is from Florida, home of the number 1 team in the country, Southeastern. We tell him every time he gets on here he needs to check out the Fire. They are the number 1 team in the country, and Danner brought it up on the broadcast on Sunday. He believes that Southeastern has the only pitching staff that is better than British Columbia this year.
Do you know how far away their campus is from me? Logistics, sir, logistics.
Radio. Just turn on a radio. Watch a stream.
Yes, because see, part of me says, all right, you got me. But then I realize even here, for those sports streams are hard to find, but I've got some digging to do apparently.
Just their website. Just go on their website. Teams' websites will link you to all sorts of stuff. At least LC's does. But yeah, absolutely. Very, very excited for the NAIA postseason to get here. Opening rounds obviously have extended what we get here in Lewiston. The World Series is our favorite time in the Valley for sports. So very, very excited to see where those goes. Just for those that are curious, the NAIA opening round begins May 13th. So it is right around the corner before the tournament really gets underway.
Yeah, I'm excited to get to watch the Oregon Tech because I have not got to watch any Oregon Tech yet. Did have one game during the UBC homestand back in early March, and when you talk about early time, when these guys were finding their stuff, and Bushnell, you're 100% right. They've got to win and get in, but I'm excited for this matchup, this early matchup too, and I get to watch it as I get to call it, and it's going to be, I think it's going to be a clash between these four teams, hard at it, and so if you're a local person, come out, support your Warriors, but also watch these other two teams, the Owls. Don't let them fool you. I think they're a team to be reckoned with.
Yeah, there's a reason why they're the number 2 team in the Cascade Conference, one of the better teams in the Northwest for sure. By the way, LC with that 4-game sweep finishes the regular season on a 16-game winning streak. Exactly what you want when you're getting into postseason play. They finished the regular season 35-9, 21-3 in Cascade Conference play. And also, just because they swept Bushnell does not mean that it's an easy game for them on Saturday. In a non-conference affair, Bushnell took 3 of 4 against the Warriors on the road earlier this year. So Bushnell can definitely bring it.
Well, and that was the one thing we ran into, just a little bit of a hiccup. We'll call it a hiccup there on Sunday. That late game, Warriors did go through some pitching in that one just to try to get the dub, as they were the Beacons were trying to work their way back into it. A couple of pitchers struggled a little bit, but Taylor had his guys ready, and the backside of that pitching staff came through to shut things down. But you said it, and you got to watch out for with Jennings and Wilson.
Let's get to some other LC news. And before we get to other sports and the other athletes, the big news that came out today, Brooke Hens, the athletic director for Lewis Clark State, announced that she will be stepping down at the end of June. Obviously, she's been a really big part of the programs. She was the athletic director when I first started there. She introduced me to Alicia, and that's how I kind of got into the fold as far as the sports information department goes. I had a good conversation with Brooke and her husband on Thursday at the LCSBs, which we'll talk about here in a moment. And they did not get in any inclination that she was getting ready to leave. But obviously something has went down since Thursday, or maybe she was just keeping a good poker face. But we have no idea where she's going to go from there. But she did a fantastic job here at LC.
Yeah, 100%. I met her years ago as a fan coming to games, basketball and baseball from NAIA, but also getting up into the press box. And you said it. She held such a great poker face. She had her computer with her, which was a little odd this weekend up in the press box, but nothing out of the ordinary of, hey, how are you doing? How are you guys? Do you need anything? I mean, always checking on the workers and the people she deals with, and not an inclination. And as soon as this came across about 1:00, 1:30 ish Pacific time, I was taken back. I was very shocked because this young woman who has spent her college career at LC as not just a player, but
Mhm.
in athletics for I want to say they said 18 years, last 7 as athletic director. She has done nothing but build this program with Ed Chef, Jake, all of the coaches, everybody. So hats off to her, whatever her next big endeavor is, and hopefully pretty soon we'll know what that is.
Absolutely. So that was shocking news for us today. Hopefully, we'll get more information on what is in her future down the line. We'll keep you updated right here on the R&R Sports Report. But back on the field of play, the Cascade Conference Championships for golf is going on right now. They're through 2 of the 3 rounds in the tournament, and Bryden Brown is doing it again. He is off to a fantastic start. Yesterday, he shot a complete clean round. Went 3 under par, 3 birdies, 0 bogeys. Off to a really good start. Alex Navarro also was tied with Bryden, another Warrior, through that first round. But Alex's first round was a little bit different. I want to say he had 6 birdies and 3 bogeys in his round, so a very up and down day for Alex. But in round 2, Navarro really got things going. He is now tied for first. He's at 5 under par through the first 2 rounds. He's tied with Dylan McDonald of British Columbia for first place. Bryden Brown, who has won the individual title in each of the last 3 tournaments he's played in, is just 1 stroke back with 18 holes left to play. So very excited to see how those 2 finish things up tomorrow. The other Warriors kind of struggled throughout, and LC right now is in second place in the Cascade Conference Tournament after a 2-round score of 584. They're behind British Columbia by 20 strokes right now, so a long ways to go, but 18 holes to do that. For the women, it is really kind of went down as the seedings suggest. British Columbia is the number 1 team in the country. They shot a 602 as a team. By the way, that's the same as third place on the men's side. The women's squad for the Thunderbirds it's absolutely phenomenal. Got to watch some of them play at the Warrior Invitational, and they were just pelting the green. They have a 28-stroke lead over Oregon Tech, who is a top 20 team in the country. Oregon Tech is at 630 right now. LC State, who received votes in the final regular season poll, had the second best round of the tournament today. Only lost ground to British Columbia, gained a lot of ground on Oregon Tech, and now we're only 10 strokes out of second. They shot a 640. Dina Caruso right now tied for 8th at a plus 13 at the moment. And shout out to Kyla Curry, another senior for LC. She improved. She really struggled on Monday and shot an 88, bounced back, had a fantastic second round, improved her score by 13 strokes, shot a 75, and has gotten herself up to a tie for 14th. So great job by the Warrior golfers. They have 18 rounds left to go. It will start at 8 a.m. The men will start on hole 1. The women will start on hole 10. And unlike the other first 2 rounds where it's a shotgun start, they'll do it kind of like the PGA does on a Sunday. And the higher scorers will lead things off, and the people in the lead will anchor it. And you can keep an eye on all of those scores. They have links at lcwarriors.com. I've been having a lot of fun these last 2 days, just seeing the ups and downs of what's been going on over there. It's a lot of fun. And again, what Bryden Brown has been able to do, a friend of the show, or I'm rooting for him, rooting for Alex, who has come up here from Spain to play golf. So really, really excited. Of course, Stina and Kyla possibly playing their last rounds of golf for the Warriors, unless they go on a crazy run and can make it to Nationals. So good luck to them tomorrow. I was lucky enough to go to the LC ESPYs on Thursday, where they celebrated the athletes at Lewis Clark State College. It was a cool little event. Alicia did a fantastic job with some highlight packages. My favorite part is when they were showing the bloopers, so I could relive the time where Maddie Holm threw a shoe at Brian Danner and myself during a basketball game. That highlight definitely made the show. I'm still disappointed in myself that I did not hit the Austin Powers joke as I should have live on air. I'm not very good at my job. But real quick, we'll run through the winners for you. Male Freshman of the Year went to Alton Hamilton for men's basketball. He was fantastic. Female Freshman of the Year was a tied vote between Gianna Anderson of volleyball and Darian Herring of women's basketball. Jaden Bradley of men's basketball won Newcomer of the Year. Cameron Smith of baseball, who we've had on the show, won Male Heart of a Warrior. That was well-deserved. Female Heart of the Warrior went to Maddie Holm, whose season was cut short with an injury, but we saw the emotion on her face throughout the year. That's well-deserved as well. Male Breakthrough Athlete of the Year went to Drake George of baseball and Kobe Wessels of men's cross country and track and field. Women Breakthrough Athlete of the Year went Juliana Forgash Aguilar, who was ridiculous for volleyball this year. Charlie Updegrave bounced back for some of his injuries. He won Comeback Athlete of the Year. Callie Stevens wins Female Athlete of the Year with Carter Gordon winning Male Athlete of the Year. For those that don't remember, Carter Gordon was the one that won the 800 meters in the indoor NAIA track and field championships in a ridiculous comeback fashion. I think they showed that highlight 4 times during the event. Team of the Year went to women's track and field. Congratulations to them. Jake Taylor won Coach of the Year, and Bonolo Molefe from women's tennis won Warrior of the Year. Bonolo had won the Arthur Ashe Award last summer and was able to go to the U.S. Open with other recipients of that award. So very well deserved there. Got one story from it, but Robert, your thoughts on the winners?
Yeah, it's showing how dominant some of these athletes are. They've been in their game. Carter Gordon has been that name we have said so much over the last couple of years. And for Callie Stevens, I had the opportunity to work with her on Saturday. Love the energy she puts out, and she is all about LC State and everything. Hands off to that. You mentioned her name as the female breakout athlete of the year. What Forgash Aguilar did on the court from her outside hitter position, just crazy good. And we've got two more years with her that she's going to prove herself as a very dominant figure in LC sport. And Jake Taylor, you can't say anymore how much he matches up with the late great Ed Chef. I mean, you're starting to put those two names together, and proud to be a Warrior. I mean, I physically don't do there, but I feel like I'm part of the programs, and to be put in that spot, this is awesome, and I love what Alicia is doing with this program.
Yeah, for sure. One quick story for you. They said at the beginning of the award ceremony that winners had the ability to come up, get their award. They waited for their highlight package to be done. Then they asked that they please come up, get their reward, and they were encouraged to have a speech. They didn't have to, but they were encouraged to make one. And I want to say about 50% of the athletes went up there, went, "Thank you so much, go Warriors." And then they would just walk off. And Jake Taylor won Coach of the Year. And he walks up there and he grabs his award. He goes, I just want to say thank you so much and go Warriors. And took a step and went, "No, I'm just joking." Like he was making fun of his players for going the easy way out. It got the crowd pretty good. Jake Taylor has a sense of humor when he allows it to show.
I heard he went a little bit farther with that in his comments, and he says, was talking about his award of all I do is write down names and turn them in. And so, I
write names on a lineup card and turn it in. That's what I do.
That's what he does.
All right, real quick, let's hit some high school sports, and then we will let Robert talk about some Clearwater combat, and then we'll really get Erik into the fold, as he has been nice enough to hang out so far. What has Clarkson been doing as they're getting closer and closer to the end of their year?
Well, the Bantams have lost their last 3 baseball games, now dropping to 5-12 on the season. Lost a heartbreaker to Rogers on last Wednesday, and then lose 2 to West Valley on Friday. So their chances, they've got to find something. They've got Trace and they've got Bodie in the pitching part, but they've got to figure something out, get those bats and the pitching working at the same time. They've just have not had that as they fall to Rogers 4-6. and then were shut out in game number 1 against West Valley 2-0, and then lose 5-3, even with some late inning heroics trying to get in there. But be a tough one. But they are at home tomorrow. If you get it, go and see them down at Adams Field, last home game, and it will be the last time they will play this season there, as they will be on the road for districts starting next week. As far as the girls, see, they knocked off Pullman there last week on Wednesday, 12-2, and then their games with West Valley got postponed because of the weather on Saturday in Spokane. So that is going to have a makeup of May 7th. So it'll be a doubleheader at West Valley for there.
You look at some Lewiston sports first for softball. They're in a wild race as they get closer and closer to the end of their regular season. The Bengals were in a 3-way tie for the top spot of the Inland Empire League. Coeur d'Alene, Lake City, and Lewiston were all 11-3. Lewiston had 4 games left on their schedule. They hosted Post Falls today in a doubleheader, and then they traveled to Lake City on Thursday. Good news, though, for the Bengals. They swept Post Falls today, winning both games by a score of 14-4. And no, that wasn't a typo. I looked. The stats were different on both games, so it wasn't inputted twice on there. The Lewiston Bengals had a outside chance of moving into the top 2 in the Inland Empire League late in the year. Needed to get a couple of big wins this last weekend against Coeur d'Alene. Unable to do so on senior night. The first game was a great back and forth game, but the Bengals lose that one 5-4. Then they went, had their food, celebrated the seniors, and it just felt like the Bengals never stepped back onto the field and really were competitive. They got beat pretty good 10-2 in that second game. Too many mental errors in that contest. So with today being the final day of the regular season for baseball, Lewiston was a half a game behind Post Falls for the 3 seed. They're guaranteed they're going to travel next week, at least for the first game, because the top 2 seeds will host. But important to pass Post Falls to get the 3 seed, and if the seedings hold up, then 3 seed would host 4 seed on that next Tuesday. We'll talk about that in a second. Lewiston, again, a half game up on Post Falls going into this final day. That is because last week, Post Falls was taking on Lake City, and Post Falls does not have lights at their field, and they ran out of light. So then they were in the 6th inning. Lake City was up 5-4 with the bases loaded in the top of the 6th. But because that inning did not end, they reverted back to the end of the 5th, which made it a 4-4 game, which made it a tie. But they decided not to leave it as a tie. They will conclude that game on Thursday. So standings could get interesting as they try to conclude that. One game is in the books for baseball. Lewiston had to win both games against Post Falls to get the 3 seed. They did win the first game, 11-9. So congratulations there, though I'm curious about Max Preps as it's now saying the second game is tomorrow. So I am curious if once again they ran out of lighting and decided to push the second game back. I don't know why you have a doubleheader at a place with no lights and you don't start till the afternoon. Right? If you don't have lights, you start your doubleheader at noon.
Yeah.
So I'll have to try to ask Trainer and see what's up with that. But you check out idahosports.com and see where they go. First round of the regionals will be on Monday night. Again, Lewiston will travel no matter what to either Lake City or Coeur d'Alene. They're facing each other for the top seed right now as well. But then second round, we'll see. It could be at home. It could be anywhere. But keep an eye on that. Ready for some Clearwater combat there, sir?
Well, I got 2 more things I want to drop in.
I brought up Clarkston and you ignored it.
I put him at the bottom. I put him at the bottom, but I'm on a couple of shout outs, and one of which has to go to an 11-year-old, a 5th grade student, Clarkston's Denley Alfred. ended up winning the elementary boys Western National Championship in archery. So hats off to him. He had made the trip to Utah to Salt Lake City for the national championship and walked away as the best elementary boy in in the nations in the western side. So congratulations to Denley. Also, yesterday, at a course that I have never played, I don't believe you've played at. I even asked my admin at school today. He has played there. He knows the hole, but shout out to Lily Summers, who is on the basketball team for Clarkson, playing golf for the very first time this year. Started right after basketball, never had picked up a club whatsoever. Goes to Palouse Ridge. They play their GSL matchup against Pullman. And on hole number 16, aces for her first ace in less than 2 months of playing the game.
It's a big
What
jerk. She's a big
So-
jerk.
So hats off to Lily, sister of Nate Summers, who senior this year for Clarkson. No dad, quite well branded. So congratulations to Lily on her hole-in-one yesterday up at Pullman. But yeah, you talked about Clearwater Combat. It's my favorite time of year. We roll into from baseball, Clearwater Combat, another unbelievable card this past weekend up there, and friends of the show, Drake Randall come away with a big win against Sharon Spain from Yakima. You know, Sharon is the one that he fought with Brian McElroy last time that we had Clearwater Combat, and Brian ended up losing to Sharon. So he is kind of the villain when he comes to Lewiston, and everybody likes to gang up on him. So hats up to Drake coming away with his professional win. Now, Dimitri Morales. What more can we say about this kid? He is just so dominant. Comes away with a big win in basically about 2 minutes into his round. Only one fight out of the entire night made it to the second round. Everything was either a couple of knockouts or chokeouts, which was very crazy. Bryce Wyatt, who is now in Spokane, but is from Clarkson, came away with a huge win. They had to end that one with Daniel Zarte because of injury to his leg. But another unbelievable card with so many great athletes coming out of this area, going against guys from Wisconsin. There was a guy from Wisconsin, a couple from Spokane area, and one even from the Seattle area. So shout out to Austin Arnett, that entire team at Martial Arts America. Dude, we still got to go up and at least make our presence known at a practice and
We
go
do
up and
owe it.
support them. At least go up and support them. I don't know about putting the gloves on, but go up and stand around for a practice and as much as they support us and everything what we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. That was the last push goal that we had. We still have not done that as things came up. We had it all set, and then
Yes.
things came up. But we do owe it. Darren Trainer just got back to me, and yes, the second game between Lewiston and Post Falls was pushed to tomorrow. I believe because of lights. He did not say the reason why, but that's the reason why the other games got pushed back between Post Falls and Lake City. On the video game? Is that what I'll go 3 rounds on a video game of jiu-jitsu. I'm just shocked that Trevin knew how to spell jiu-jitsu. Well, I'm very proud of Trevin. He's come a long way at the Lewiston Tribune. But yeah, so you'll have to wait another day to see if Lewiston is guaranteed to have to go on the road every game or what the plan is. But
That just sucks for Lewiston to drive all the way back home to
Yeah.
turn around and drive back up tomorrow.
That's
rough.
That was us last year for regionals because the rain hit multiple times, like mid-game it would hit. I think we were in Coeur d'Alene all 5 days. And once finally Lee McVeigh just went, "You're getting a hotel." Like, this is getting silly. But yeah, quite the the mess going on, and we will figure out what's going on there. Again, check out Max Preps to see how regionals will go on from there. All right, let's get Erik involved. He's been such a good sport of hanging out through all of our local conversations. And let's throw you right in the fire, Erik. How's the NHL playoffs been going? Because neither of us have any idea.
If you look at it, especially in the East, with how the Rangers,
What the hell
thankfully,
I was looking over, and the Knicks had like a 4-point lead with 20 seconds to go, and now they're going to overtime. This is why I don't watch basketball.
I'm sorry. Have you not seen the standings in the East in the NBA? It's Boston, and then everybody else was in a cluster.
I am
not surprised.
No, I have not.
But yes, there was like 3 games separating second all the way through like 8th. So the NBA Eastern Conference is insane. No surprise there. But in the NHL for the Eastern Conference, Rangers winning the President's Trophy, Capitals getting in last day of the season thanks to a last-ditch effort by Philadelphia, needing a win, pulling their goalie in a tie game. Great. Rightfully swept, done and dusted. Really showed the class there. Boston, as I anticipated, Bruins fans, you're welcome. Ottawa helped us out. We got a win to win the division. We slayed the beast, beating Tampa Bay for the first time in the playoffs ever, asserting our dominance. Boston doing their thing over Toronto. So the East is pretty much chalk. The West, I shouldn't be surprised given Vegas is the defending Stanley Cup champions. But for all the hype around Dallas and how they built this season, especially in goal, I'm a bit shocked that series is tied. However, Winnipeg and Colorado, you already had a 7-4 game and another like 6-5 game or thereabouts in the playoffs. Surprising, a good series. Vancouver came out of nowhere with a hot start to the season, beating Nashville in that series. Edmonton, LA, you maybe think this is Edmonton's year to finally advance out of the West, but even that's leaning towards a potential someone from Canada, all Canadian matchup of the second round. Someone's going to make a huge run from the Great White North there. So there's a lot of excitement, but still some intrigue, especially with a potential Florida-Boston rematch, given last year, the win, the memes, everything else. Okay. It can be used as a suggestion box, but it is technically an old mailbox. But you send me something in Oriole Orange. If you cover it on your dime, I will consider it. Because ain't no way I'm doing it otherwise. We're having enough issues on the diamond this year.
So you said it
great.
you said it just a minute ago. The East has got a couple of teams already figured in. Florida knocks off Tampa Bay 4-1. Also the Rangers, Randy's Rangers already defeated the Capitals 4-0. So yes, your Rangers.
I don't follow the Rangers.
He was a Sabres fan that defected to the Kraken. For shame.
Yes.
For shame.
I went from one crappy team to another.
But hey, at least one of them actually has been in the playoffs in the last couple of years. And another one decided to go back to the nostalgia route and hire an old coach in Lindy Ruff. So 6 of one, half dozen of the other.
So it looks like really quick. We're down to 1 minute and 40 seconds left in the Maple Leafs Bruins game. Boston can tie things up, take the win with this one. They lead 3-1. What do you think? Are we going to see this Panther Bruins matchup?
Absolutely. I mean, for all the talk of Toronto, Austin Matthews being denied being the first 70 goal scorer since Alexander Mogilny in the mid-90s, although he ended up on a very nice total. If you know, you know. Toronto cannot get out of their own way come playoff time. They were all big and bad last year after finally winning a series for the first time in a couple of decades. They ran into us. Now, they're old demons, 3-0 lead several years ago, blowing a lead in game 7. I knew automatically when this matchup was heading, Boston was just in Toronto's head. Now, we get a second crack at them, and most likely a little bit of a grueling, another physical series, but I'm liking our chances to get back to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Talking about another sport here that we don't normally talk about on the R&R Sports Report, even though the IEA like to throw basketball on half of the songs that I played earlier on tonight. The National Basketball Association, the West mostly has their stuff figured out. Oklahoma City, Minnesota, Denver all move on. No real surprise there. Clippers and Mavericks in a pretty good series, though.
Well, the Clippers and Mavericks, with everything of how LA is built, Dallas riding Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, that 4-5 was the one that was always going to be the toughest to predict. Lakers not going to get their repeat magic, their big run. Denver too strong. Minnesota, I expected a better fight from Phoenix. From all of the star power, all of the money being thrown at them, yet one of the youngest teams in the league just brushes them aside entirely. Expect big news. Check that, given the desert in sports recently. More big offseason news, this time from the NBA, as that team is done. I don't know how they're going to do it with trades and everything, but with how they are with the cap, with some of their stars with age, that's completely over. But I have to say, watch that Denver-Minnesota series. That could go 7. I'm calling it right now. I don't know who's going to win. I like Denver better, but that's set for a 7-game series.
That actually surprises me. I was going to ask you if there was any chance Denver did not make it to the finals, and you have your doubts. I like it. In the East, nothing is locked in yet, but they are getting close. As you said, Boston is a clear-cut favorite to make it to the finals through the East, but is there any chance that my Knicks, who had a chance to close out this series and are making me now sweat it out over here, do they have any chance of pulling off the ridiculous upset?
If they're having trouble with the Sixers,
they're having trouble with Embiid.
So I'm sorry. Yeah, you have big guys like Kristaps Porzingis and what have you on Boston, but there's a reason this team won 64 games in the regular season. If you're having trouble with Embiid, I'm sorry, you're not going to have good nights at the Garden. If you can go ahead and have a dominant showing over what looks to be Indiana, which even with Damian Lillard, that's a bit of a shock. But if you can go ahead and set aside Indiana, get that series done quickly, you can take a game or two, then see what happens. But if you keep like this,
Danny wants to know, where does LeBron and Bronny play next season? What do you think?
LeBron, I'm not sure. He's still saying retirement is coming. Has a $50 million option with the Lakers. I don't know necessarily if he's going to exercise that. And I have put this out there. Bronny is already looking in the transfer portal from USC. Looking to leave. I don't think necessarily while USC was great to him, especially recovering from the heart issues. My thing is, with Bronny, play in the G League. You're not going to get a lot of extra experience of what you would need at the collegiate level. With those health issues, you're being set back. And with the way that the G League is formatted, you are getting a very happy medium. Length of the season, travel, know how your heart can take longer than a 30, 40 game schedule. Play a season in the G League. let someone have your rights. If they can swing it to where the Lakers can have that dream father-son season with LeBron or whomever, I think that would be great. But that's my strong take on what Bronny should do. Will he? Probably not, especially with the disillusion of G League Ignite thanks to NIL deals. But to me, that is the best place for him. I hope someone in his team is at least throwing out that option.
All right, let's get rid of those sports that we don't care about, and let's talk about a sport we do talk about and we care about, and that is Major League Baseball. Wild night yesterday, which works out for us. Usually all the craziness happens on Wednesday or Thursday, and then it's irrelevant by the time we're back here on our show, but a lot of craziness yesterday. Let's start in Seattle, where Denny Grubb's daughter was in attendance with the pup, as you had a combined no-hitter through 6 innings between Max Fried and Brad Miller. Was trying to see who could hold on. Spoilers, neither of them could. Atlanta broke up the no-hitter in the top of the 7th inning with a leadoff hit by Acuna. Oh, by the way, he stole second, and then he stole third, because that's just what he does. Albies knocked him in with a double, and Atlanta had a 1-0 lead. Fried was done after 6 innings. They brought in Pierce Johnson, who struck out the side in the 7th inning, but Josh Rojas breaks up the no-hitter in the 8th inning, and then the wildness happens in the 9th, where Mitch Garver with a 2-run walk-off home run for your Seattle Mariners. Robert, thoughts on that game? Thought on your Mariners so far?
I knew it was going to be a tough game. I knew it was going to be a tough game. Big Atlanta. That is pretty much my second team growing up watching the Murph and all those. Yeah, I watched Greg Hubbard, Bob Horner, Dale Murphy, those guys, Otis Nixon. So watch those guys. But yeah, knew it was going to be a good game going into it, even this entire season series. But you know, it's still early, and we talked about it last week. Anything can happen, and I said it. Mitch Garver was going to be a impact player this year with the Mariners picking him up, and he just shows off why he could make a difference in this team. Big 2-run walk-off. Now, you wake up this morning, and not to pick on Megan, but she made a post about people looking at the standings. Listen, we're still before Memorial Day. We're still before June 1st. That thing is going to look like a who's who of who wants to lead away with this. And so I think it's still early, but Mariners lead right now by 1 game over Texas.
And how often have the Mariners looked at the standings in April and freaked out? And then where do they end up come September every year?
Mm-hmm.
It's calm down, people.
Third, yep. We're a little early to start celebrating.
The Baltimore Orioles nearly made history yesterday. They did defeat the Yankees 2-0. No, that was not history. They also beat the Yankees again today, and that'll show in our power rankings when we get there here in a moment. But that is not the history that we're talking about. They brought it up on the Yankees broadcast as the game was going on, and it was really, really interesting to think of. Do you have any idea what the history was, Mr. Person that is looking at the notes and can read it?
So, yes, because I was looking at the notes, because I was also looking at some other highlights, and I read this. 16,130 games. That's a lot of games for a franchise to have played.
Yes.
But it would have been the first time for your team to lose 1-0 on a leadoff homer. Statistically, that's had to have happened at least once by a fluke at some point.
Yeah, according to the broadcast last night, it would have been the first time ever for the Yankees to lose a 1-0 game on a leadoff home run. That was Gunnar Henderson who hit it, but Baltimore decided to add one more run and mess up that stat. They won it 2-0. So still, the Yankees have never lost a game 1-0 on a leadoff home run. just a absolute wild stat there for you. Again, Baltimore was able to win again today. They now lead in the AL West as so a much more competitive game today. But once again, the Yankees just cannot hit with runners in scoring position. And it's just been a bugaboo this month. But it is what it is. Baltimore's a really, really good team. Also, I am still frustrated that the left field wall got pushed back. The amount of home runs that the Yankees would have hit over the last couple of days. Just disappointing. Now we talked about Robert's team.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, Soto adjusted. He hit one to right field a long, long ways today. We talked about Robert's team. We talked about my team. Let's talk about Erik's team, who won a game against the Milwaukee Brewers that you shouldn't have won, sir. What were your thoughts on this batter interference that was called late in that game?
If you were going to take that aggressive of a swing and get that low, and then have with your follow through, will look like a power swing, reach back and conk the catcher in the head as he's just laying there trying to get the ball and getting ready to make the play. Sorry. Out. I'm with it because it's just.
But so if I'm a catcher and a ball gets by me, I'm just leaning 3 feet forward.
Well, if a ball gets by you, okay, maybe game the system and see what happens. Fine. But the ball wasn't just getting by him. Right there, going down, at least trying to make some attempt for it. And all of a sudden, hey, wait a minute. Come on now. Again, why are you getting? I get 1-0 game. I get trying to be a hero or trying to get insurance, what have you, all that. But come on, getting that low, practically knee to the ground at that point with that sort of follow through, you know something bad was bound to happen.
I didn't like the call. I thought it was bush league and horrible, and I was not a fan. Right?
Hey, just
incidental contact all the time. Let it go.
Just be glad that Angel Hernandez wasn't the umpire for that game. You talk about with that being crazy.
Yeah, for sure. And in news that is not news, Robert Taylor brought it up earlier today. Trout is injured. News alert. Mike Trout is injured. He's expected to be back this year. That is never a good report. Needs surgery, expected to be back this year. Not out for this many weeks, out for this many months. We hope he's back this year.
I mean,
what a disappointing career because of his injuries.
Incredibly disappointing. And this is another one of those cases for where we've seen the flashes of the brilliance and what we were lucky to see, but just imagine all the things that could have been. And yes, as Robert mentioned, it's early in the season. Hey, at some point you figure a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, they'll look at things, look at where they could potentially be in the standings and figure, all right, just shut Mike down. I mean, would it really be out of the question for them to make that decision before we even hit June?
Can we start looking at the idea, maybe should he have moved away from Anaheim and went someplace else?
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely. You applaud team loyalty, but like Randy was mentioning with his Knicks, imagine Patrick Ewing with rings had he moved away, which was a possibility, had offers and everything else. Trout at that same position.
Imagine Patrick Ewing with rings if Michael Jordan would have stayed in baseball.
I'm sorry, the Houston Rockets would like to have a word about that.
Yeah, I blame O.J. Simpson for that one. Yankees had that series won until he got in his little white Bronco. And it completely imploded. It's all his fault.
Got to blame somebody, right?
I agree.
What's wrong is the fact that in a weird way, especially with the lack of coverage of that game last night, it's like, wait a minute, is he actually making sense? What's wrong with me that I'm agreeing with this?
It's never good if you're agreeing with me. And yeah, Trout Hall of Fame. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame. He's what 2 or 3 MVPs. He was the best player on the field when healthy. He just could not stay healthy, and the teams that he played on could never get anything done, and it's just disappointing. I wish he was on a team that was relevant ever. Sorry, Alicia, but
yeah, you look at it: 3-time MVP, Rookie of the Year, 11-time All-Star, 299 career batting average. I think it's a shoe-in right now if he was to walk away right now.
Now, granted, don't say that they were relevant ever. They just haven't been relevant since 2002. I have to give them something.
Yeah, but then Mike Trout was like 8 years old.
Also fair.
Does not count. Also, the Knicks are going to blow this game, and this is why I hate basketball. There's other reasons why I hate basketball, but just when you start to get into the Knicks, and then they fall apart.
Oh, so you mean what? It's like your favorite, defense, all this and that.
Yeah, and the Knicks were doing great, and then OJ died, and now the Knicks can't win. So once again, OJ ruining things for my New York Knicks. Let's move on to the Major League Baseball power rankings. Got it. As I'll go through mine first because mine basically did not change. Atlanta is still your number one team in baseball. As much as I hate to say that, especially when Harry is in listening distance, but they are number one. Another team I hate saying when this person is around, but Denny Grubb, your team, is number 2. I had that in there before this series got underway, and they have solidified that by winning the first 2 of 4 against the Yankees. So Baltimore is 2. I will have the Yankees still at number 3. I had them 4 last week, but the Dodgers are really struggling to find their groove. I don't think the Dodgers are going to have any issues later on in the year, but the Yankees are solid. They just randomly have team meetings where they decide not to hit with runners in scoring position. I don't understand it. So I have Yankees 3, Dodgers 4. And I know Cleveland is off to a hot start, and they have one of, if not the best record in the league. I don't care. I don't buy into them. I still think they're the second or third best team in their division. So they're not in my top 5. So I will keep the Phillies there, as they've been playing some pretty good baseball themselves. Robert, what do you got?
I'm going to agree with you. I'm keeping my top 2 the same. Atlanta, number 1. Denny's Baltimore Orioles. No, not a bandwagon lover yet. Impressed with the team, but not there. I'm going to move the hot team right now, and that's Philly. I'm going to move them up. I might put them up 3rd. They're going to have a good series against the Angels, and as they're on the road, should be able to come away with a few more big wins, 7-3 over the last 10. So I'm going to move them up. I'm keeping the Yankees in my top 5. I'm going to drop them down 1 spot, put them at 4. But I'm going to hold on to Cleveland still. Cleveland has been impressive. What they are doing now, run differential is just through the roof right now. We're still early in the season, but they got a 2.5 game lead there in the Central. But we're going to talk about how long can they hold that lead, as that is one of the weakest divisions in all of Major League Baseball. All right, Eric, who do you got there in your top 5?
Now, see, I was looking at this and doing a little bit of research and prep, as I am wont to do. I was almost right there with you, Robert. Yes, but in a season to where it's early on, there's only one team really showing that they can pull away. That's Atlanta, without a doubt. So we're unanimous there. However, I am really believing in the Guardians. Yes, I may end up looking a little bit off kilter over the next couple of weeks and couple of months, but when you can go ahead and have this kind of start and begin to assert yourself, given the parity that's going on, I'm giving Cleveland credit, especially with their recent run. I'm with you as far as the Phillies. They're there. Are they going to provide incredible competition for Atlanta in the NL East? Maybe for a game here or there. Maybe for a week start to sniff around, but not really. However, and yes, Denny Grubb changed my mind. Even with the way that this Yankees-Orioles series is going on so far, even with the fact that hitting lineups tend to be absent aside Juan Soto, I'm not 100% sold on the Orioles just yet. Denny, I am either a large or an extra large, depending on the fit. Choose wisely. I'm about 185 at 5'9". Little bit of a dad bod if that helps you kind of decide things. So keep an eye out. And yes, I will send you my address. So
Yes.
Yankees 4, Orioles 5, subject to change.
Well, I think as you were talking about, I think this is the first time in a very long time, even from last year, that I have not had the Dodgers in the top 5. So this is, it for the way that these teams are playing, to put myself over the top of them, it's proven some hard work is happening right now.
Absolutely. And I mean, even with Ohtani killing it for my fantasy baseball team, helping me salvage, because thankfully now that Tommy Pham is back, I didn't have a left fielder for a while. Thank you, 30-team league. But you're at the point to where this is just sort of ho-hum, and you're waiting to see, all right, September and more so October, are the real Dodgers going to show up, or are they just going to win 100 some odd games and lose again?
Yeah, we'll see how all of that goes on. You are watching the R&R Sports Report. We're through 1 hour of the show. Next week could be at a special time, ? As Robert has track that he is PAing for. I will have the second game of Lewiston regionals, but I have regionals on Monday, so we will figure something out. It'll be on at some point next week with somebody. Somebody will do the show at some point, but it'll be right here on the Facebook and YouTube pages and all of that. Might have to send somebody the cool new video that starts things. Real quick, since it is halfway through this first show, before we get into the sports-related draft and the reasoning for it, Robert, out of all of the crazy AI songs that were played in our countdown, go check that out when the VOD comes out. Which one was your favorite, where I will now play it here as our halftime show?
I kind of like the leadoff one. It was kind of that caught the ear,
because now I can't remember.
It caught the ear right away, and so
yeah, here you go. I had some fun with an AI music generator thing, and all I did was change a word here and there, and it came up with completely different things. But yeah, here's one of them. We'll have. I think is this the one you're talking about?
Grab your headphones, turn it up loud. Randy and Robert bringing you the sound. Lewis and Watson, sports all around. From the local fields to the global playground. Bringing you the highlights week after week. From touchdowns to home runs, they'll make you shriek. Covering the athletes, the legends, the stars. Randy and Robert, they'll take you far. Edition stacks, breaking news with a twist. Every game, every play, nothing gets missed. Monday mornings, tune in for the sport. The R&R Sports Report that you can't ignore.
There you go. That's one of them. So that one was really into wanting to be Monday morning R&R Sports Report. So
I was thinking the same thing, like, 90s, 2000 morning show. I was like, man, I'm driving to work. Yeah, that's a theme that I could get into.
Yeah, they had a lot of fun. At no point did I ask for a certain style of music. I just put in the name of our show, our names. At first, I just had Lewiston in there, which is why one of the videos says Lewiston, Idaho. I put Lewiston and Clarkson. I said local sports, national or worldwide sports, and it just went to town. The last one I had fun. I made sure I put Aussie Rules Football in there, and it's hilarious that it just throws it randomly in a line. It's just as a mid-section thing. So yeah, definitely check out the beginning of these shows now. Come in, get ready a couple minutes early, listen to the goofiness. I will be changing them in and out. With this website, you could do 5 per day. I did 5 really quickly, and hopefully throughout the week I will find better versions and different music styles and add things in there as well. We're having a lot of fun with it. That's for sure.
I have yet to mess with any kind of AI. I know Dave Walk, who produced our video to start the intro video for us, uses AI all the time at school now, and so it's crazy. So I'm gonna have to share this with him.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I saw it on a different YouTube channel, which I think I shared with Hagen. Eric, you have to stick around after the show. I have to show you the song that they came up with.
Definitely.
It's far better than the ones that we had, but it is also not family friendly. So we'll just move on from there. Let's get into that sports-related draft that Harry wants to get to so badly so he can vote along with myself. Again, I wasn't supposed to be here. Supposed to be Lewiston hosting Post Falls today, and that's why Eric was scheduled to cover for me. But since I was available and because I wanted to have some fun with these AI songs, I had to make an appearance. So I am just a judge on this episode of the sports-related draft. But before we get to the draft itself, we got to tell you why Eric picked it. And that is because arena football is back, Eric.
So, as Robert and I have talked for the last couple of weeks, we have been gearing up for the return, the third iteration of the Arena Football League.
I win.
Now, granted, a lot of old names, your Albany Firebirds, Georgia Force, Nashville Cats, my Orlando Predators, my team growing up. So they've tried. You've got the Washington Wolfpack right over in Everett. And if you go online and see the Wolfpack's helmets, chef's kiss. But with every league, there are issues. First, they were set to have some games on NFL Network, especially Albany at Orlando, which was a fantastic game. More on that in a second. But up until a couple days ago, that was all fine. Then it disappeared from the schedule. Supposedly, there's some broadcast issues with broadcast partner Gray Television. Nobody knows for sure. There's been discussions about it, a podcast episode about it with Commissioner Lee Hutton that was taken down. Not a good sign. Major gaps in talent between teams, a lot of blowouts. The Philadelphia Soul, who are playing some of their games in nearby Trenton, New Jersey, didn't have any players because of pay disputes, a coach quitting, not paying for hotel accommodations, equipment being locked up in rooms, so they used an entirely different team, the Dallas Falcons of AAL2. Yes, that exists, and that is a league. So that's a big thing. Even reports of Pat McAfee show. You had the Louisiana Voodoo, which were supposed to be playing in Lake Charles. Yet a few days ago, they move all the way to Lafayette. And they're dealing with stuff. Albany and Orlando, a game that I saw. Fantastic game. Albany wins in overtime, 62-59. But they played by the wrong overtime rules. Using the old rules of 15-minute quarters sudden death when it should have been 5-minute periods with kickoffs each. So it's there. I have hope, but we could be seeing a disaster in real time. So when I thought about this, I thought with Robert, hey, this league could potentially fail. So why don't we take a look at other failed leagues throughout history? And I made one caveat. They have to be defunct. Robert tried to make a pick to sneak those rules, but
I tried.
they have to have also actually played. There are multiple leagues that never even took the field. Those don't work.
Wait, so
Oh,
you're saying that
Harry,
are,
really,
are,
really, really,
no.
really.
Are you saying Robert tried to skirt the rules in a sports-related draft? That's never
No,
ever
no,
happened
no.
before.
Teeny bit. I was like, hey, wait a minute. No, that doesn't work.
So Eric came up with the sports-related draft. That means Robert gets the very first pick.
So to kind of defend for a minute, Randy and I have both been. Spokane had the shock for many years. Then
Mhm.
they got let go and said Spokane got rid of them, and so hope they would get the team back. Now the closest one is the Wolfpack. I just pulled up their uniforms. Those are some pretty nice uniforms. So we'll
Mhm.
see. For me, I have to go with the league that, do we dare say, lasted 10 weeks in playing, 8 weeks, I think, total. I'm going to go with the Alliance of the American Football, the AAF. It was that brainchild of Bill Polian. They started it in 2018. They played a total of 8 weeks, and they were that team, or that group that ended up filing Chapter 7 bankruptcy because of injuries and all that stuff. So I'm going with the AAF.
That's the one that had all the financial issues and stuff, right?
Mhm.
Where they couldn't
Mhm.
pay everybody. Yeah, there's so
Yeah.
many spring leagues. I get them all mixed together. But yeah, that one might have been the most brutal. It's a good first pick. Eric, where are you going?
Do you like action? Do you like teams in strange markets? Do you like being able to easily identify and spot the players by position because they wear different pants? Welcome to the World Football League. Lasted 2 seasons in the mid 70s. Supposed to be this sort of not quite spring league, but competition in the early days with the NFL. You had one player, drawing a blank on his name, who pulled a George Hallis and played and coached and owned a team simultaneously, and also has a place in my heart because it was the first, even before the World League of American Football, which was the NFL Europe original. But the World Football League was the first league where Jacksonville had a team and got screwed out of a championship. It was not a good time, to say the very least.
All right, Robert, what do you got for your second round pick?
All right, so this is where I tried to take the AFL. I tried, but I went with one that just made me laugh. I thought it was so funny. I didn't understand why, but it was nice to look at. Dare I say, gorgeous to look at. I am going with the lingerie league that happened, the LFL, that was from 2009 to 2012. Yes, they did change things. They got known as the Legends Football League for a while. Mike Ditka was the owner. What do you mean don't count? LFL. They played.
They did. And,
They
well, while
mm,
in name, technically, there has not been any reports, anything for the last couple of years where they only had a couple game season, no updates, anything about the X League, nothing whatsoever. So, yes, I checked thoroughly, especially mild bonus points, even though I'm in the running because they did go international with like Canada and Australia and others. So I was like, I wish I had to pick that one first, but as it goes.
I just enjoyed that moment there, Randy. Did you know that he defended everything that I was going to say. So he knows that the LFL is better than his first 2 picks. So
I'm not
I
saying
thank
it's
you
better than
for
my first 2 picks. I'm saying that was a good pick. I know good picks when I see them, among other things. But again, family show. So
That looks like an update to me.
no.
That sure looks like a countdown to when the
that
season
does
starts.
not look like lingerie. That
Okay.
does not look like lingerie.
yes,
that
it
they
does-
played in.
How many times
Listen,
have
well,
we
time
seen-
out. Time out. Let me show you an old baseball player. And you go, well, that's not what they look like now. This is the same league. You talked about not the X League. This looks like the X League. If you
My
look up the X
question.
League, it came up from the Lingerie Football League, which
My
started in
question, good
2009.
sir. How
Here's
many
the thing.
times have we seen countdowns that lead to nothing? I'm counting down to the 6-on-6
Hey.
arena league with Commissioner Tim Brown. I'm not holding my breath.
So
I'm not holding my breath about Major League Football.
Veer is still coming to Monday Night Raw, sir. At some point.
But here's the thing. They're not even scheduled to come back until 2025 if they come back. That would Denny, there was
See?
where I was trying to go. I was trying to go slam ball.
However, Slam Ball.
That was the joke, Harry. Don't ruin my joke.
Not only has Slam Ball come back, they just had a wonderful season a couple months ago in Vegas. My team, the Mob, went undefeated, winning it all. They're already announcing dates for their next season. So I was like, nah, sorry. That exists has been fulfilled. Everything.
All right. Eric, give me your second pick.
There are some leagues that try gimmicks. They don't work. There was one league that actually had a height limit for basketball. Yes, basketball with a height limit. While I did not pick that league, I picked an iteration of that league and an amalgamation of 3 or 4 other leagues. The International Basketball League. International primarily because a lot of the teams were in Canada. Played for 2 seasons, 99 to 01. Had the Continental Basketball Association and a few others. It was just, see, exactly, Harry, the what? It's witnessed, there's clips of it, but if you're going to try to put stuff together just for the sake of putting a league together and you miraculously last 2 seasons, you get my pick.
That is fair. Robert, you got more.
All right, I'm going this one, and this one will probably be a little bit of argument because of things of how they go together now. But this only happened for 1 season, and then it was disbanded. They brought it back. But I'm going to go with the original XFL 1.0. That was the year in 2009 where NBC and WWE owned it. And so they had 8 teams. And I still love the logo of the San Francisco Demons. Do you remember the San Francisco Demons logo? That was a cool looking logo, but it only happened for so long. I think Vince McMahon got tired of NBC having partial ownership and haha. But they played very physical and it was not scripted. That was the big part about it. Was it going to be scripted of who was going to win? And then it disappeared for a while. Now it's back. Yes, it's part of what is starting to happen now, but it had disappeared for a long time. So I think I can use that because that is not the name of the league that it is running now.
You can't use it because, yes, it's merged with something else. But if you can't use Slam Ball, you can't use XFL. Just because it was there for a while and then it went away for a while. That's Slam Ball.
Ball was revived in its original format. XFL was not.
It was pretty close. You played football.
Matching the number of downs in overtime. Yes, I remember that overtime game.
Yeah, they could change rules. That's fine. Yeah, they're another league that I will never watch. But all right, give me your last pick, Eric.
A league with a familiar name, but with a crazy ending. The North American Soccer League, not the original one with Pele and the New York Cosmos in the 70s, but a half-hearted attempt in the late 2000s to revive, even with the Cosmos themselves. Multiple different formats throughout the one season, couldn't necessarily keep teams on the field, tried to get designation with US soccer, ended up with the whole lawsuit alleging MLS of having a monopoly. It was just, I looked at that and I'm thinking, why are you still trying? Just, you let a perfectly good thing tarnish in what was legendary in ways by doing that for a couple seasons.
All right, there you go. That's your sports related draft this week. Let us know in the comments down below who you picked to win. For Robert, he took the AAF, which is the Alliance of American Football. He took the Lingerie Football League, and he took the first version of the XFL. For Eric, he took the World Football League, he took the International Basketball League, and then he took the North American Soccer League.
So what, sir? You were a judge. What is your vote?
Oh, it's Eric 100%, because two of your leagues still somewhat exist. In some shape or form, your two of your three leagues still exist. So it's Eric. Yes, that's the point.
Go back to bed, Harry.
I tried. I will take this victory under questionable circumstances, but a victory nonetheless.
And plus, if you wanted to take the questionable stuff, you should have went Slam Ball. It said the original version of Slam Ball, because I met one of those original people from Slam Ball. Very much liked his contact on Screw Attack. So
I tried, but Eric told me I couldn't, so I didn't. I tried in the second.
Because, again, if it hadn't been revived, and I'm not even talking about the Chinese version, if it hadn't been fully revived and in Vegas right now, it would have been fine. Because it wasn't actually necessarily the worst. And granted, I would have said pre-NIL situations, if the NFL actually cared enough, it would exist today. But now, as we see with everything in the state of college football, there isn't a need for it.
speaking of the state of college football, fantastic segue from Mr. Erik Watkins. Reggie Bush has gotten his Heisman Trophy back. Robert, good or bad move for college football?
I think with everything else going on, eventually there's going to get a few more. I think I knew I'm a Denny Grub fan. Bye.
The supported in quotes gets me.
Yeah. I think what he did on the field is still 100%. Well, all of these athletes anymore get paid or some version of something for years and years. It has happened. It's just got to that point. So hats off. I kind of agree with it. I'm glad that that's there. So Eric?
Yeah, I'm right with you. Right now, you've got all kinds of lawsuits. You've got college football players looking to unionize, be treated as employees. It was just Reggie Bush at that time where it was much under the table. And you even got guys going farther back, like SMU from the 80s. They just got caught. They just went over the top. But so I think the Heisman Committee, they realized, okay, this is a thing. It didn't really affect anything in the grand scheme. So, yes, reinstate. Everything else got reinstated. He's in good graces at USC. So, great move.
I don't get it, Harry. Tattoo scandal?
Yeah,
Trading
yeah.
Yeah, basically trading tickets and other memorabilia and stuff
Yeah.
for free tattoos. Terrell Pryor was one of the main players involved in that one, and that led to him facing a potential NFL suspension to start his career because of that suspension at Ohio State. So
Yeah, we'll see if wins get reinstated and stuff. I have no issue with that stuff. Danny brings up Pete Rose for the same thing. My argument there is the rule has not changed. Rules changed in college football for the better to let college athletes, actually earn money for their name, image, and likeness. Other things have made college football and college sports just not academic in any
totally.
standard or
Excuse me.
but the rules have changed, so that makes sense for Reggie Bush. They're not allowing players to gamble. So Pete Rose still broke the rules and broke the current rules, and the man got banned for life. And then still refused it for 20 years before finally breaking down and begging for it, only to sell a book. F Pete Rose, I don't care. Should he be in the Hall of Fame? Yes, because of what he did. But I think it's out of spite at any point. Like, I have no sympathy for Pete Rose because he did it to himself.
The other big news coming out of NCAA, and I know Eric shared this with me earlier this last week. They are allowing communications in the helmets. Is this a plus? Can we see the last of the whole Michigan incidents of stealing signs?
Personally, I think so. And I think this was part of a response to that. Anything that you can streamline technologically, the better. Using tablets, being able to watch video on the sideline, just like the NFL, communication in helmets where you have the green dot, everything again streamlined. And I'm going to say it again, the 2-minute warning, you're going to start to see college football more and more like the NFL. And to Harry's point about hacked audio feeds, all of the technology in the NFL has it. I haven't really heard of that happening unless I missed something over the years. So with this and different levels of encryption, more so available now, much harder to hack.
The only thing that I'm disappointed with is I love college football for the crazy signs they put up with the 4 pictures and everyone's holding up different stuff. I don't want those to go away. That was a cool part of college football. But no, we can stop with the conspiracy theories of how they're going to get hacked and stuff. It's going to be fine. And it's good for the game, and it'll make the game move quicker. It's going to be interesting for those teams that run the hurry-up offense all game long. You're going to be able to talk into the earpiece or their headset right up to snap as they're running up to the field. So it'll be really interesting. Yeah, of course. That's exactly what you're saying. Everyone's going to find a way. It doesn't matter.
Everybody steals signs in baseball. I mean, yes, the Houston Astros got caught with a garbage can, but I mean,
they didn't get caught with a garbage can. They got caught with a camera.
Anyway, with the whole thing, when we were taught watching the other team give signs, that's what you did while you're sitting in the dugout. So it's been for a long time.
Look back at a lot of the theories from that legendary 51 championship series between the Giants and the Dodgers. There was a Army level technology camera right out in right field that people point towards. So it's like, hey, it was potentially a thing even back then.
I'm going to say this. I feel like we said this for 180 episodes or wherever we're at right now. Houston did not get in trouble for smashing on trash cans. They got caught because they used trash cans as the way to transfer the signal. They got in trouble for using their own cameras out in center field to electronically cheat. Because you can steal signs, it's fine. But to do it with an electronic device is very illegal. And it was because they were so blatant about it by smashing a trash can is how they got caught, not why they got in trouble. It's 2 different things. But yes, I will agree there. They are a trash franchise. Some more NFL news as far as the talking heads go. Belichick is going to join the Manning cast on Monday Night Football. He's also joining Pat McAfee's show. We talked about that last week. Love to see Belichick show his more softer side. he's a humorous dude, and I'm glad he's able to, at least for a year, relax, have a good time. Jason Kelsey's joining the Monday Night Football pregame. Get him some experience there. And news that I saw just from your notes that I'm a little bit sad there. Harry brings it up too, and yes, it's the old guard leaving, but Sims and Boomer are out for the CBS NFL Today. Matt Ryan and J.J. Watt take their place. I'm cool with J.J. Watt. I think Matt Ryan might be boring, but hopefully that's not the case. I always like Sims and Esiason and their takes, but it is about time to get a new guard in there.
Yeah, I think they led into the one argument that I read people talking about is Sims is right on the precipice of being 70, if I'm not mistaken. So he's right there at that age. Esiason in the same boat. It's just time. And both of them said, they weren't planning on leaving. I think it's just time CBS is making that the youth movement is what it boils down to.
It started with Nate Burleson. You have a lot of other networks coming in, freshening things up, keeping players but from a more recent perspective, younger, newer faces that are more relatable to the game today. Not to say that Boomer and Sims weren't, but you can tell these differences. Matt Ryan, I'm going to give a shot, but that to me was a little tepid. J.J. Watt, with everything that he's done, I feel like that's going to be a great move.
All right, we are 90 minutes into this edition of the R&R Sports Report, and we have not said one word on the NFL draft. Let's change that now. They got through 7 rounds over 3 days. We had a wild, predictable first 4 picks, which I felt like it was wild because that never happens. We never get the first 4 picks correct as we did. And then things went off the rails thanks to the Atlanta Falcons and Michael Penix Jr. Eric, I'll go to you first. Just go through those first 10 picks. The chalk form that the first 4, maybe 5 picks went, and then the craziness that came afterwards.
So there were very few secrets leading up to the draft. Caleb Williams, number 1 overall, lock. Granted, I'm disappointed I haven't seen any blue and orange nail patterns, but he's got time. Jaden Daniels, trying to rebuild a new regime in Washington, fine. Drake May, you shipped Mac Jones out, gave me Patriots, fine. Malik Neighbors, good for who's ever going to be a quarterback, because I still think Daniel Jones's days are numbered. Him pulling his best Adam Gase bug-eyed impression, something about teams involved with New York teams, doing that at press conferences, what have you. Even with Tennessee, it made sense. For a man who loves mayonnaise in his coffee, you're going to need to protect him in multiple fashions. So Atlanta, please. You went and gave Kirk Cousins $100 million. That man has been stealing money flat out for years, in my opinion. You mortgage whatever you have with him. You go and draft someone who you admit is most likely to sit multiple seasons. Do you not realize it's 2024? The level of roast you're going to get for these moves, being a meme franchise that we suffered through last season as is. All I could think was just why? Why?
Yeah, I hate their explanation that they want to do what the Green Bay Packers did, and that was their game plan. 2 things that are completely wrong and different from what Green Bay did compared to what Atlanta did. 1, it was at the end of the first round. Two, it was with a quarterback that had been there for 10 to 15 years and had won a Super Bowl with that team. So they were never going to look over their shoulder at the next quarterback. Brett Favre was going to play until Brett Favre was done. The reason why Aaron Rodgers got the spot was because Brett Favre continued to say, I'm done. Oh, wait, just kidding. And then Aaron Rodgers decided to do kind of the same thing. And that is why Jordan Love got bumped in. That's not the case with Kirk Cousins. You just signed him, as Eric said. So the moment he throws an interception or has a bad game, then he's going to be looking over his shoulder with Michael Penix Jr. Now, to defend Atlanta, there is a chance that in most drafts they could have traded down or in a different way, traded up to the end of the first round and got somebody like Michael Penix Jr. if they really, really liked him. But as Harry said in the comments, 6 of the 6 quarterbacks went in the first 12. Like, if you really love the guy, go out and get him. It was just the high profile of the situation is interesting. Signing Kirk Cousins to that much money is interesting. Like, if that was your plan all along, you could have went out and got Sam Darnold. You could have traded for Zach Wilson. You could have got that in between quarterback. But instead, you went all in with Kirk. You tampered with him to get him. And now here you are in just drama-filled Central. Robert, your takes on it?
Yeah, 100% them not letting him know that that's where they were going. But Kirk Cousins has proved himself that he's that guy. But I'm very shocked that, like you said, you spend that much money on a guy. I think you need to be upfront with that and all there. The bigger story for me coming out of this one is actually it came out today, and that was what 2 teams were trying to give up to get the number 3 pick, and that's with the Giants and the Vikings trying to get that number 3 pick from the Patriots. They talked about it. The Giants had the 6th on the line, and then their first pick in the 25th round or 21st round of the 2025 pick, while the Vikings were offering their number 11, their 23. So this proves that Mayo and it was all in on this Drake May pick.
Yeah, I mean, that's a different situation as well. You have Jacoby Brissett there is your quarterback for the Patriots. I do think Jacoby should probably start the year, and you can use Drake. You can play Drake May down the line and not rush him. New England's not going to contend this year the way they are built right now. However, again, 6 quarterbacks went in the first 12 picks. Like, the way everything was figuring out, and we all thought a lot of quarterbacks were going to go in this first round. Did I say Brisket, or are you just joking about Brisket?
No,
I think I said Brisket. But for New England, you can't miss on that guy. Go out and get your spot. Sure, it sounds great to have all these first-round picks and fill in other holes, but as they know, quarterback means everything.
And especially 6 quarterbacks in the first 12, and then nothing all the way until, I believe, Spencer Rattler.
Is it the 4th round when Rattler went?
So you had the first time ever no quarterbacks were chosen in either the 2nd or 3rd round. So everybody was clamoring. So I understand all that from that perspective. And I actually think the Patriots handled this right. They know they need that cornerstone. So despite people throwing all the golden china at them, no, they made the right move.
I will also say one of the shocking things from this, especially the first round of the draft, is how well I nailed the first 11 picks. But though I thought trades were going to affect things,
we were both in there. We were both in there. We both had a good first 10, 12 spots.
You had Brock Bowers going to my Jets, sir. I nailed the Jets pick, but I thought they were going to trade down farther than to 11. But I only bring this up because, again, Robert and I had the first 4 picks. I did think Minnesota was going to trade up with the Chargers, as has been the reports. They tried to trade up with the Patriots. I had Minnesota going J.J. McCarthy, so I I feel like that counts as a win for me. I did have the Chargers going offensive linemen, but I had the Titans taking Joe Alt because I had the Chargers trading down. So they both took an offensive lineman. I count that as a win for me. I had Malik Neighbors going to the Giants instead of a quarterback. Feel good about that one. Nailed Rome Odunze to Chicago. I nailed Fashanu, the offensive tackle, to the Jets. The only thing I didn't nail was the Atlanta Falcons.
No one did. Don't blame yourself.
Yeah, that is why I bring it up, because it's a complete mess. I also got Denver taking Bo Nix, but I thought they were going to get him at the end of the first round, not at 12. But
Well, I mean,
again,
look.
they kind of had to.
Exactly. Zach Wilson. Need I say more?
Well, no, it's not the Zach Wilson part of it, which I definitely agree too. But again, 5 quarterbacks had just gone in the first 10 picks. The Raiders needed a quarterback. The Saints were probably interested in the quarterback, as they showed later on in the draft. You could not move down and allow the Raiders to steal them. Harry asked who I had the Bills taking. I had Adonai Mitchell, the wide receiver from Texas. They ended up with, who did they get in the 33rd? They moved so much that they moved out of the first round. Keon Coleman, which Harry brings him up. Have you guys seen Keon Coleman's press conference? You need to go watch it. I'm not going to play it here because I don't want us to get in trouble, but he has a conversation about his coat that is just top notch. He's a Bill, so by rule as a Jets fan, I have to hate him, but he may become my favorite player out in the AFC East that is not a New York Jet. I will say that. Before we move on to some of the other picks that really stood out to us, or just the draft in general, be Homer for a minute. Eric, your thoughts on your Jacksonville Jaguars?
I was surprised. All the talk about Trent Baalke, plans, everything else. I knew we were going to let some key guys go. Zay Jones being one of them is cap casualty. The fact that we went out and got a guy like Brian Thomas Jr., even with that trade, it's like, okay, we're serious about making adjustments. Going later in the draft, filling in some depth in defense, edge rusher towards the end. I have a bit of hope, especially with how the other teams in the division drafted. It's now all about solidifying everything coming together. I'm going to keep a close eye on a mini camp, because if all the talk that continues about the terrible taste in the mouths of everyone from the second half of the season, and probably making changes with Press Taylor and all of that, this was a solid start. This shows, hey, yes, we are still serious. Yes, we know we've got teams to contend with. So first round, even towards the end, I like a lot of our moves, and especially taking advantage of the new kickoff rules, getting special teams guys as returners, little bit of 4D chess. So I like that.
We have bored Harry as he's moved on to watch the Braves and the Mariners, but that's okay. Do you agree with the NFL.com giving the Jaguars an A-?
I think that's a little too high. I was looking at ESPN as well with their grade. They were like around a B-. I'm comfortable B plus, because the first round, getting the guy but dealing with the trade I didn't 100% like, caught me off guard, but close. They were close. A-, a little too high for my tastes.
Hagen, you were close on what your Ravens were going to do in the first round. You gave them a cornerback. They did go cornerback, but not Kool-Aid and McKinstry. They go Nate Wiggins. Your thoughts on that pickup?
Well, it's the relationship between Dab and with the whole front office of Baltimore. So big pick. I'm excited about that one. I think he is going to be a decent defensive back for the Ravens, and then to pick up an offensive lineman. you know this. We talked about it. Baltimore gave 2 of them to New York, and so now I must be a New York fan. But you know,
Come
they
on.
tried to they tried to get back into their defensive stuff. You know, with with Isaac also picking up another with Tampa. The only pick for me that was a little sketchy is Devin Leary out of Kentucky. That one makes me a little bit hesitant as he's a backup for Jackson. He'll be
Yeah.
like third or fourth down, but
That late in
overall,
the draft, it's whatever.
yeah, yeah. Overall, I think they did good by getting an online offensive lineman and another D back and defensive end.
I ask you the same question. NFL.com also gave the Baltimore Ravens an A minus. Do you agree or disagree?
I would be at a B. Yeah, I think not knowing enough out of the 2 guys in the later rounds. Uh, Devontae Walker is going to be a big weapon, but that's going to be a ways down the road. I don't know enough about TJ Tampa or Rasheen Ali, who is going to be backing up Derrick Henry. So that scares me just a little bit.
Yeah, that's fair. For the Jets, they didn't have a lot of draft picks this year with the Aaron Rodgers trade. They did not have their second round pick. I actually liked a lot of the trade moves that they made during the end of the second day and going into the fourth day. Very cool when you see your team trade a this year fourth round pick for a next year third round pick. I think that is a good investment for New York. I did have Fashanu going to the Jets. I'm glad they didn't go Brock Bowers, even though I think he would be a lot of fun to watch. Yes, Fashanu is going to be a backup to start, but how many times do the Jets lose half their offensive line by week 2?
Mhm.
So it always happens. It's always going to happen. So get more depth there. I had never heard of Malachi Corley before the draft. It's usually the case in these situations, especially from a player from Western Kentucky. But watching his tape after he was drafted was a lot of fun. I think he's going to be a great dump down wide receiver, the Yak King, as they like to call him. So a perfect target for Aaron Rodgers. So you can have your 2 wide receivers go out deep and have Brees Hall and Corley go out into the flats and make it really interesting to see what the defenses do. Now, interesting that they went 2 running backs later on, but as Erik brought up, new kickoff rules. You can do a lot of different things with Isaiah Davis. He could be part of the kickoff team. So could Corley, Braylon Allen. So he's a Wisconsin running back. You know, he's just going to be a bruiser. He could definitely spell out Brees Hall. So I like some of that stuff. Not a lot here as far as depth because they didn't have a lot of picks. They did a lot of moving into getting picks for next year, which you're going to need because at some point Aaron Rodgers is going to leave, and then as a full rebuild, reset, and see where you go there. So NFL.com gave it a B plus. I'm with you. This grader does seem to be a bit more positive than most. A B minus C plus, which is fine for what they were doing because again they didn't have a lot to work with. And just to throw it out there, since Harry's been hanging out with us, Bills with a B plus is what NFL.com gave to them.
Can I share the one funny that you sent me? I think is the best part of the whole NFL draft, and that was the Jamaal Charles announcement of the pick
Oh
for the
man,
Kansas City Chiefs.
like I get it. I get that we want to bring the celebrities in and we want to bring the ex players in, but Harry I think brought it up. It was like the pure case of CTE where he just could not say words, and there were times like especially in the second day where they go a bit faster that I still had it up and I was still watching. By day 3 we had all the baseball stuff, so it was more just checking here and there. But there was a point during the second day of this NFL draft that they always kept track of what was actually happening in the draft as who was up. And they said the Arizona Cardinals had 3 minutes left on their clock and they had not announced 4 picks above them yet. It's how far behind they got. Like, obviously, the teams are getting the announcement so they can make their picks, and they're announcing it to the fans that are going, well, why their clock ran out? Why not? But they got so far behind as far as announcing picks, and it gets a bit brutal at times. But overall, fun draft. Shout out to Detroit. That crowd was insane all 3 days, especially that first day. They packed the place, had a good time.
250,000, I think I saw. My buddy Robert Gaines, who is a Lions fan, works in Detroit, was there for day number 2. Sent me pictures of it. It was crazy.
Yeah, I think they had mentioned shattering an attendance record for all 3 days. Wow, well over 700,000. So well done to Detroit for stepping up.
Yeah, Green Bay is next. That whole town is going to be at Lambeau Field. Very curious how they're going to have that set up. Again, we've been there. Haley and I were there. I'm curious if they set up Titletown as where they're going to do the draft, or if they're going straight into Lambeau to do it, because there's not a lot of space. It's not like Detroit where you had that big open area to be able to do it. And it sounds like they want to do it at Lambeau Field. And I don't think Titletown's big enough to set up all their stages. So it'd be interesting if they do it inside the stadium and absolutely pack that place. Very curious to see what they do. All right, we got 10 minutes left. Let's get to the sports that don't get enough airtime, because they don't get enough airtime on this show anymore as well. Aussie rules football. I'm just going to get out of the way because my team stinks so bad. They lost by like 70 or something. So you guys talk about your teams.
You're expected to stink. Losing to Sydney by 76. A little harsh.
Like it.
No, you don't have to like it, but we were supposed to be good. Oh, you have a top 4 list. Oh, with all of this. Marcus Bontempelli, his redemption arc for the Brownlow. Now I'm just joining the cacophony that we need to get rid of Luke Beveridge. I saw this coming. Wasn't even that bad. Now we're losing to Fremantle. Why? It's always at least one fandom a year that just does this to me for some unknown reason. I don't get it.
For me, Geelong, another great game. Listen, if you have not watched the highlights for this one, you need to watch the highlights. I know, Randy, you took Carlton. They were your pick early, but
still are.
It was crazy. Another week where Tom Hawkins does not score. Everybody else is scoring. They're balancing it out. Jimmy Cameron, 4 goals, got his 600th in this game, but it was balanced out. But let me tell you, I even talked to Chloe in the press box on Saturday. I said, have you watched any footy? One of our Australian athletes there at LC, and she hadn't watched it yet. I told her, I said, this one for me has to be close to the game of the year so far between these 2 ball clubs.
And a fun fact, that was a top 4 clash in the table. You have continued an interesting streak for Carlton. The Blues have not won a game where both teams are in the top 4 since round 12 of 2001.
Wow.
That's
going to have to change because they got to win the cup. They got to win the cup, so that's got to change.
It doesn't get any easier this week.
No.
Yeah, a bunch of games on FS2, 1 game on FS1. Sydney and GWS is on FS1 this week, Friday night, 8:45 p.m. Pacific time. Geelong is on FS2 Saturday morning, 2:30 a.m. against Melbourne. Check out all of those games. Congratulations on your win to the Western Bulldogs next week, Eric.
Yeah.
Get Hawthorn.
I don't know. I'm not counting anything at this point anymore.
39-point victory. And yeah, Harry's brought this up too. Fox Sport or Soccer Plus has them all. AFL has them all. You can watch them the next day. I still plan on watching Geelong and Carlton, but getting down to the last week or so of school and trying to make sure things don't implode there. Real quick in golf, congratulations to Joel Damon for a top 30 finish in this year at Classic. Don't care who won, but yay for Joel Damon. Fun for alligators. I hope they ate all the golf balls. What happened to me? Marshall Kent, a Yakima, Washington boy, got his first major at the PBA Tournament of Champions. And as he would say, he got all the luck in the world.
Did you watch any of those yet?
I watched all of it.
Yeah, so crazy. Jason Sterner starts off with 3 splits in a row for that game. And then you look at the rest of the matchups. He throws a gutter ball in game 2 against Ogle.
It's not even the story. He started with the first 6. He had 6 straight strikes and then threw it. He lost his 300 by throwing it in the gutter.
Yeah,
it was wild. EJ Tackett has a shoulder injury during his match. You could tell he was struggling, especially with 10 pins. He missed 2 of them. And Marshall Kent threw like 2 or 3 Brooklyns in that match to win by 20. Championship match, Marshall Kent misses the head pin and strikes against Anthony Simonson. One of the weirder things you'll see. And he ends up winning as Simonson stones a 10 pin in the 10th frame. So Marshall Kent had somebody watching out for him this 1000%. Last weekend. But shout out to him. I mean, he's well deserving. He's been one of the better bowlers for a long time.
You know, you and I talked about it last year. We talked about going to Seattle where they are at this weekend. We talked about going this year, and again, sir, we didn't do it.
No, it didn't happen. Baseball is happening. Other life things are happening. You guys gotta start watching bowling if you didn't understand it. I know Eric understood it.
Yes, I understood it, even though I will still say 5-pin bowling is better, but hey, never against 10-pin.
Yeah. So speaking of things you can watch all of those championship matches on YouTube. PBA just posts all of them. That's how I watch it. Cuts out all the commercials, cuts out all the fluff, and you can watch the entire broadcast in like half the time and still see every shot. It's really, really good. But yeah, PBA playoffs are in Arlington, Washington this weekend. See how all of those guys do there. The 150th running of the Kentucky Derby is this week. They figured out there are spots to run at. Eric, who you picking?
You know, even though odds-on favorites haven't done well recently, the fact that Fierceness is going to be at one of those outside positions at 17, outside positions have started to do a lot better at the Kentucky Derby. So I want to see that my mind may change before Derby Day, but that is going to be my early pick.
Robert, what do you got?
I'm going to go just the opposite. I'm going to go with the second favorite in Sierra Leone out of the number 2 spot right now, 3-1 odds on that horse. So I don't think I might put him in a box. That might be a good bet if you're a betting man.
It's not nice to do to a horse.
Put him in the box.
Different kind of box.
I'm just kidding. Give me horse number 6. So they're numbered by their starting spots, right?
Yes.
So he wants just steal. 20-1 person. Who do I want? I don't want to take a favorite. Favorites are boring.
Hey, favorites, but if you go ahead and say like an interesting trifecta with Fierceness, Sierra Leone, and Just Steel to show, could be a little bit of good coin.
Give me Track Phantom. He's 20-1 according to CBS.
Okay.
Right in the middle too.
Yeah, why not? There you go. We'll go with that. That's going to do it for this week's edition of the R&R Sports Report, episode 181. Eric, thanks again for hanging out with us, covering for me and then not covering for me, and having some fun conversations as well.
Always. I'm here on Bad Brackets. I'm here too. Just make sure the AI does me right if you go ahead and do those new songs.
Yeah, I'll have to look in getting some Bad Brackets versions of those, but we don't do those live at the moment, so that it doesn't hit as well. Again, next week, keep your eye on Facebook because Robert and I both have things to do Tuesday night. I also have things to do Monday night, and then graduation is later on that week. But we will have an R&R Sports Report. Somebody will be on it. It'll be at some point, at some day, and they'll talk about some things. That's what we do here at the R&R Sports Report.
Something will happen somewhere at some time, so stay sharp.
Harry, we may have to get Harry on and hope his internet has learned to be nice. It'd be a good test to see if we can get him back on Bad Brackets. We definitely miss him over there. Go check out 90s comedy movies that came out on Monday. Let us know your picks.
Still a rancid bracket. Still a rancid bracket. You had a couple.
It went well. It went fine. All right, I let Robert pick the song halfway through. Eric, what was your favorite from earlier today? We'll close it out with another fun AI song.
I like that second one. That second one was my favorite.
It was, I believe, this one. I'll play it out. You guys have a great one.
For the action,
This one?
we're here to report. Randy and Robert together, talking sports of every sort, from Lewiston, Idaho, to fields around the globe. We got the news, we got the views, we're in the know. Local legends and global stars, we cover it all, whether it's touchdowns on the field or baskets on the ball. The highs, the lows, the drama that ensues, we'll break it down for you. Share our fearless views. The R&R Sports Report, we're here to entertain, bringing you the inside scoop through sunshine or rain. From the local to the global, our voices will be heard. Tune in now, let's dive into the world of sports.
That's Robert. That's Eric. I'm Randy. This is the R&R Sports Report, and we are out.
Thanks for that.